Welcome everyone to today's webinar, where we will be discussing CADLink. This webinar is in partnership with ICG, QBuild, and Infor ERP systems. So today we'll be talking about how you can bridge your gap between your CAD, PDM, PLM, or your engineering software systems and Infor FortShift. So making sure those two systems are connected to prevent downstream confusion and make sure you have a well-oiled machine in your production and engineering. Just to go through a quick introduction, my name is Hassar Sandul. I'm one of the sales engineers here at QBuild Software. I'm also the FortShift partner manager between QBuild, ICG, and Infor FortShift. So I manage all those relationships and make sure that we're up to date with all of the latest releases, etc. Join me, I also have Michael Freeman from Infor on today's webinar, and also Roger Wheeldall from ICG as well. So let's go through a quick agenda of what we'll be discussing today. We'll first talk a quick introduction into QBuild, who are we, what do we do? Then we'll talk about CADLink, why it's important. We'll also spend some time touching upon our partnership with Infor as well. And we'll jump into a live CADLink demonstration in the middle of this webinar, and towards the end discuss some of the benefits and ROI, and have some time for Q&A at the end. For Q&A, if you do have any questions, please type it in the chat. There's a chat at the bottom of your interface there. Go to webinar interface, and any questions that you put in there, either Michael, Roger, or myself will make a note of it and get back to you as soon as possible. All right, so let's talk about QBuild. Who are we? What do we do? So QBuild, we are a software development company. We focus on integrating engineering software with ERPs, specifically FortShift. So on screen, you can see a kind of a spider web of all of our different products and how they focus on integrating with FortShift and the ERP. So all the products that you see on screen kind of focus on that main goal of making engineering more efficient and connecting them with ERP so everyone has the most up-to-date and in-sync data. Today we'll be focusing on CADLink, but I will spend some time in a few slides here touching upon some of our other solutions here that if you're interested in. But if you are interested in learning about any more of these solutions that you see, you can go to our website, reach out to myself or your ICG representative for more information. So QBuild ourselves, we've been around for over 20 years. We actually started back in 2002, so we've been, in the ERP integration space for 2 decades now, and we're very, very experienced in this field and consider ourselves the market leader for ERP integration software as well, specifically for engineering integrations. We've also been partnered with Infor for over a decade now as well. So working alongside with them with building integrations and helping manufacturers become more efficient. On the other side, we have over 50 CAD, PDM, PLM, and also nesting integration partners and integrations available that we developed over the years. And altogether, we have around over 450 Infor QBuild customers that are using CADLink today. So just to spend some time on our partnership with Infor, we're Infor's only certified and supported CAD integrator for the Infor ERPs, which includes FortShift as well. So we're sold and supported by Infor and the channel partners, including ICG, and we've been integrating with Infor solutions for over a decade, as I mentioned. So we're very experienced in this space, and we've been working again very closely with both ICG and Infor to build the CADLink integration and also improve it over time and make sure it's up to date. And on the other side, we also have a lot of partnerships on the engineering software side. So We began back in 2002 as a simple linking program for AutoCAD. Our owner just had to manually enter data into his ERP at the time, and that's how CADLink was born. And over those years, we've garnered all of these relationships with these different CAD, PDM, and PLM and nesting software solutions, and developed those integrations with them. So I'm pretty sure most of you will see your engineering software that you use on a day-to-day basis on screen here. If you don't see it, this is not the full list. We do have the entire list on our website, which has over the full 50 integrations that we have. So just to spend a little bit of time talking about some of our other solutions. So again, today we'll be focused on CADLink, but there are two other solutions that I do want to touch upon because I do think that there might be some benefit for some people in the audience today. First of all, we have NestLink. NestLink is our bidirectional solution that connects your 4Shift environment and ERP to your shop floor nesting software in real time. So it's a automated background running application that connects 4Shift and the nesting software. So it automatically creates those jobs in the nesting software based on your 4Shift jobs, automatically synchronize sheets and inventory between the two systems, and also updates your material and labor consumption in 4Shift as well with what was output by the nesting software. So just making sure that you have a lot more automating that whole process, and also making sure that you have good and accurate data in not only your nesting software, but also in 4Shift as well. Next, we also have ECX Manager. So this is our engineering change management solution. It helps automate, simplify, and integrate your engineering change process with 4Shift. So one of the biggest differentiators between other change management systems and versus ECX is the integration with 4Shift, with the 4Shift ERP. So that means you don't have to duplicate your data entry, and you can also seamlessly integrate the solution with your CAD ERP link as well, which includes CADLink. So if you're interested in learning about either of these products or some of our other solutions, reach out to myself or your ICG representative, or visit our website for more information. So as I mentioned, today we'll be focusing on CADLink, and let's talk about why CADLink is important. So firstly, CADLink is our bidirectional connection software between 4Shift and your CAD, PDM, and PLM systems, so helping integrate and connect those two systems together. But why is an integration like CADLink so important, especially for manufacturers such as yourselves? Number one is because of the connection between engineering and ERP. So firstly, on the engineering side, we have our CAD designers who provide our part details, create all the BOMs. They're kind of a core part of of your company as a manufacturer. Then on the other side, we have the 4Shift users, who are the production planners, the procurement team, manufacturing engineers, and they all use that data that the engineering team creates. So they use the items and the BOMs and all the routings that the engineering team creates, and relies on them to actually produce their products and sell to customers. So when we don't have that connection between engineering and 4Shift, or we have a disconnect, that's where we start to see issues arise downstream in production, maybe late shipments, wrong build situations, and overall downstream confusion in the shop floor. ERP CAD data, especially for a manufacturer, is the cornerstone of an ERP, especially for 4Shift. So for 4Shift to really perform as intended, to get that material usage accurately, all of that information, accurate CAD data is required, and it's a must for to use 4Shift to its full potential. So having that linkage between your engineering department, engineering software, and the 4Shift ERP is much more valuable than it may seem on the surface. So when we talk to different customers and prospects about this integration and connecting engineering software with ForShift, we often hear them run into similar challenges when they're not using an integration software solution like CADLink. And I just want to spend a bit of time to talk about some of those challenges that we see, because I just want to get a gauge of how many of you run into these similar issues as well on a day-to-day basis. So firstly, without a integration solution or having that connection between your engineering software and ForShift, we always see an impact to product development. When we don't have that data going into ForShift accurately and in an efficient manner, it leads to longer lead times to get your items and products to the market. It also leads to delayed notifications across the systems across departments, because, for example, a common scenario we'll run into is engineering updates a drawing or a bill of material, but they don't let purchasing or the front office know about these updates. So the front office is unaware of this and they're disconnected, which, can cause situations where they've over ordered a certain material or they've under ordered a certain material, which are situations you don't want to find yourself in because it can lead to late shipment, wrong builds, etc. Next, we also see product quality suffering as well, just because we have that design intent lost in translation. Sometimes what the engineers input in the ForShift, the manufacturing engineers may not fully understand that, or sometimes the manufacturing engineers add something to the BOM in ForShift that the engineering side does not have on their end, which ultimately can lead to production errors downstream as well. Next is engineering resources. Without having an integration solution like CADLink or having that connection, we see a lot of times where manufacturers use up their engineering resources unnecessarily for this work. So having them spend their time on non-value added activities such as manual data entry to input those BOMs and items into ForShift from their CAD systems. Which ultimately leads to reduced project and design capacity for the engineering team and overall lower efficiency for the company. And lastly, the biggest challenge for, I would say, IT specifically and also engineering is data management. There's a lot of data management issues where you have double or triple data entries into one of the systems, which causes downstream confusion due to this inaccurate data. With shop floor purchasing, where they again over order a certain quantity of material, under order, for example, or just don't follow the BOM as it was intended by engineering. So you can start to see the life here without a integration solution like CADLink. We run into a lot of different issues where we have downstream confusion, production errors, and also just our time from our engineering team being taken up by these menial and manual data entry admin activities. So just a quick poll here that you're going to see on your screen. I just want to get a gauge of how many of you run into these issues that we just described, and what issues are they? So which category do you struggle with the most? So just going to give that a quick minute there. Okay. So I'm seeing a lot of data management, also product quality, some engineering resources as well. Give it a few, let's say 10 more seconds here before I close the poll. All right, so it looks like most of you are struggling mainly from data management and also the product quality and engineering resources. Data management by far is the winner here. I think a lot of you struggle with the double and triple data entry and also the effects of the inaccurate data in ForShift as well. So we'll show here, especially today in the demo, how CADLink can help mitigate some of those challenges like double, triple data entry and prevent inaccurate data in not only FortShift, but also your engineering softwares as well. All right. So along with these challenges, we also often hear different alternatives that our customers or prospects were using before a solution like CADLink. So there are two main alternatives. Number one is brute force, and number two is blind push. So brute force is essentially just manual data entry. You're having your engineering team or different individual brute force all that data into FortShift, so manually enter all of that information in, manually create all the parts and items and the bill material, excuse me. So these both have their own sets of challenges, which we'll discuss here momentarily. And we often hear these challenges and pain points from our customers themselves. So starting with brute force, the biggest challenge that we see from our customers is that it's highly error prone. You're relying on a human or an individual or your engineers to manually enter all of this data in, and it's very easy for people to make a mistake. So, very common mistake I hear is adding an extra zero or extra character to a quantity, for example, which may not seem like a big mistake, but downstream it can lead to an over ordering of material that was not needed, or lower quantity of a material that you actually need for a build, which can cause late shipments. And as much as we would like to not cause errors as humans, we are still human, and human error is definitely a risk here. Secondly, it's very time consuming, especially if you have larger bills of materials, or you're constantly changing your bill of materials. If you're a customer engineer to order manufacturer, you have a lot of bombs coming in and a lot of items coming into your FortShift ERP. Especially with those manufacturers, you're going to see a lot of time expenditure on these menial tasks such as manual data entry. And oftentimes we see customers having their engineers manually enter this information in, and that's the engineer's time, expensive time being taken away, not only from them, but also the company, which they could be using elsewhere to help existing customers create new products or improve upon existing products as well. So, it's very time consuming. It's not what we want to be spending our time on as a company as well. And lastly, it's just plain boring. It's not something that anyone is very keen to do. It's not mentally stimulating or challenging. So when things get boring, as much as we like to avoid it, we start to make mistakes because we are not as attentive to what we're doing, because again, we're just bored. So there's also psychological factor that plays into just brute forcing your data in. So just keeping that, having solutions and softwares complete these boring tasks and automate these boring tasks for your engineers and your company is very crucial for becoming more efficient and profitable. So that is brute force. On the other end, we have blind push. So this is when you're, for example, doing an two-step import-export process. So maybe you have your engineers design something in your engineering software, export that bill of material to an Excel file, someone manipulate it, and then import it into FortShift. So this is slightly faster than brute forcing, so just manually entering all that data in, but it does have its own set of issues, which we hear from our customers or prospects. So number one, the biggest one, it requires a lot of data massaging. We call it a blind push because you're blindly importing that data into FortShift. You don't have any data validation to go with that. You're not able to look over to see if that data is going to, come out as expected in FortShift. So oftentimes, once you actually import that Excel file or CSV, for example, into FortShift, you're going to have to go back into FortShift to check over the data, massage it if anything needs correcting. And also from the SolidWorks side, your engineers are going to have to manipulate that export as well, because oftentimes that export won't come out in the same format that FortShift is looking for. So even though it seems like it's slightly faster, oftentimes you're spending a lot more time that you originally anticipate on this process as well. Secondly, there's no bidirectional connection, so you're able to push into FortShift, but you're not able to take some of your FortShift data and put it, import it back into your CAD system to ensure that both systems are in sync. So this causes issues where it just doesn't resolve the disconnect between engineering and front office and other departments, where engineering and the FortShift can be updated with the engineering data, but there's still that disconnect where engineering may not be aware or updated on other changes going on in FortShift. So it's important to also have that bidirectionality to make sure that two systems are in sync to really prevent that downstream confusion. And lastly, it's often reliant on a single person. This is usually IT, or maybe someone from the engineering department even, or just an individual dedicated person, which has its own issues, because if that person goes on vacation or is out of office for some time, it often causes bottlenecks in this import-export process and can cause bottlenecks in production overall because of this as well. So having to rely on that single person to keep not only to complete that task, but also keep it up to date with FortShift updates and SolidWorks updates is not something that you want to be doing as a company to prevent downstream issues with production, etc. So you can start to see that both these alternatives, although they have some benefits to them, there are a lot of disadvantages to them, especially for manufacturers such as yourself. And there's definitely a better solution on the market for this, which is CADLink. So with these prospects as well, we also hear common pain points with these two alternatives. Number one, manual data entry, the human error, it's not time and resource effective. And then with the blind push, the import-export, we have no validation and it's not bidirectional are the two biggest disadvantages. So all in all, this means that these two alternatives, what we hear is from our customers and prospects is that it leads to slower engineering, wrong build situations by misinputting a single quantity, for example, or a single part number or character, wrong inventory, shop error and scrap parts in your shop floor, and overall frustration in the company, especially with shop floor purchasing and engineering, just due to that disconnect and how intensive some of these processes can be. So CADLink, that's where CADLink steps in to help resolve all these issues and take all of this off your plate by automating a large portion of this design process. So what is CADLink? So CADLink, as I mentioned, is a solution that will automatically synchronize your engineering bill of materials and items between your CAD, PDM, PLM system and your ERP FortShift. So it will actually plug into your engineering software data. So let's say I'm using SolidWorks, for example, it's going to read my BOM from there, check if those items and bills of materials exist in my FortShift environment, and actually do a live data comparison between my two sets of data, where I, as the user, have an opportunity to verify that data, look over it, change it if I need to in the interface before committing those changes to FortShift. And CADLink is also bidirectional, meaning that you're not only able to push to FortShift, but you're also able to take some of that FortShift data and push it back into your engineering software as well. So just really making sure that the two systems stay in sync so we can prevent those downstream confusion and make sure that we are having accurate data throughout both systems. So now let's dive into a demo. I know it's great to talk about it, but I'm sure you all are interested in seeing how this actually works and what it looks like. So let me quickly pull over my demo environment here and we can jump into that. So you should be seeing SolidWorks open on my screen, and I have a model open up as well. It's a 4-digit printhead, and in this scenario, let's say I'm a design engineer at one of your companies, and I've actually made some design changes to this 4-digit printhead. So what it does, you pass a wire through here, and these heating cartridges heat up this printhead here with these serial numbers, and as the wire passes through, it will stamp a serial number onto the wire. I got some feedback from one of my customers saying that the numbers are coming out a bit blurry, so I've created a new revision here, and in that new revision added some new heating cartridges and changed a bit of the model to resolve that issue. So now that I've updated my model in SolidWorks here, or my CAD system, I now need to update that, those items and bill of material in FortShift as well to make sure that shop floor and purchasing are using the most accurate bill of material to resolve this issue. So instead of having to do that manually, have FortShift and SolidWorks open up in two screens and compare them to, I'm going to have CADLink do that for me. So it's going to automatically create those items for me, automatically create the BOM for me, and also give me a chance to verify that data before doing so. So the first thing I do want to point out, CADLink is a add-in to your engineering software system. So whether you're using SolidWorks or Autodesk, one of the Autodesk products, or a different PDM or PLM solution, it will be an add-in. So I never have to leave my my CAD system to actually access CADLink or use CADLink. Which, if you're an engineer or you work with engineers, you know that they will be very happy about. So here I'm just going to navigate to the CADLink add-in here, and I'm going to launch CADLink. And at this point, what CADLink is doing, it's reading my SolidWorks model, all of the parts and the bill of material for it, checking if those items and that BOM already exist in my FortShift ERP. And if it does, it's going to grab that data and do a live data comparison between the two systems. So once it's finished making that live data comparison, it will bring up the interface, which is what you see here. This is the CADLink interface, and at this point, we actually haven't saved any of our data into FortShift yet. This is that in-between step that I was mentioning, where I, as the user, have that opportunity to look over the data, verify it, make any changes if I'd like to, along with additional features such as setting up routings and operations. So we have the BOM grid here in the interface, and we also have the side panel. Let's start off by talking about the BOM grid. First of all, in the BOM grid, you can notice that CADLink has maintained my bill of material structure from what I had in my SolidWorks model. So all the parent-child relationships and the sub-assemblies are coming through exactly as I had it modeled in SolidWorks. Next thing you'll probably notice are these colored highlights. There's quite a few colored highlights going on in the interface here, and these colored highlights are actually the result of that live data comparison that CADLink made between my SolidWorks data and my FortShift ERP. So each of these colored highlights represent a different result of that live data comparison, and let's go through what each of those mean together here. So starting from the top, you can notice I have a white highlighted item here and some white highlighted fields at the top, and also a few items down below in the BOM. White highlighted fields is CADLink telling you, hey, I found this item number in your CAD model, and I've looked for it in FortShift, and I found a record already exists. So when I go to hit save, no changes will be made to these white highlighted items or fields because that's CADLink telling you that the data aren't in sync. So there's no changes to be made. Further below in this BOM, we have a lot of green colored highlighted items here. And you can see that more than half of my BOM, or 75%, 3/4 of my BOM is highlighted green in this scenario. And green highlighted items are items that CADLink found in your CAD model, but do not exist in FortShift yet. So these are all new items that don't exist in my FortShift environment yet, but I've just added them in to my SolidWorks model for to resolve the issue that I was having. So when I go to hit save, CADLink will actually automatically create all of these new green items for me in FortShift. So it's going to firstly create the item record in FortShift and then also add that item record to the bill of material with the data that I've pulled in from SolidWorks. So you can start to see how much time you're going to be saving by using CADLink. So what may have taken 15 to 30 minutes before to create all of these parts and items in FortShift manually is now only taking me a matter of seconds and just a click of a button to create all of them. So again, just making that design process a lot more automated and a lot faster as well. Next, you can notice I also have some yellow colored highlights here, whether that's on my revision or my description or even my quantity. These are field level discrepancies that CADLink has found between my CAD and FortShift data. So let's take this description, for example. CADLink is telling me that my description for this item is different between what I have in SolidWorks versus FortShift. And I can actually right click on it to see what that discrepancy is. So here I can right click on it. I can see in SolidWorks I have a different description, which is print head spring bracket material 9231. But in FortShift, it's something completely different. It's Res C array 33 ohm SMD. So maybe that's something that my purchasing or our previous description, and I've now updated this item to this new description here because that is more descriptive of what it actually is. So right now you can see we're currently using our FortShift description, but I can actually pick and choose which description I want to use here. And let's say I want to use my CAD description, I can select that. CADLink will reflect that in the interface. And now when I go to hit save, this will not only be updated, this description will not only be updated in FortShift, but I also have that ability to write that back to my my CAD model as well to make sure that this data going forward is in sync between both systems. So next time I launch CADLink, I don't have to worry about this discrepancy anymore as I've resolved it. Also with the description, let's say, I can click into the cell here and actually type in my own brand new description or modify either of these descriptions. So let's say that neither of these descriptions actually fit. I can go in here and type in my own brand new description like so. And again, when I hit save, it'll update in FortShift, and I can also update that back in my CAD model as well. Now with the quantity, I can also right click to see what the discrepancy is for these yellow highlighted quantities. And here you can see what the discrepancy is, but when I go to try and click on the quantity, the FortShift quantity, you can see that CADLink is actually not letting me modify that quantity here like I did with the description. And that's because the quantity is always driven by your CAD documents. So if I wanted to update the quantity, let's say from 1 to 2 here, I would actually have to go back into my CAD model and physically model that part there, an extra part of it, and then relaunch CADLink to see that updated quantity. This is just to make sure, follow engineering best practices and make sure that we're having, accurate drawings of the bills of materials that we're actually pushing into FortShift. Looking further down, you'll notice I also have some gray highlighted items. These are items that were not found in my CAD model, but do exist in my FortShift environment and this FortShift bill of material. You may run into gray highlighted parts when, for example, you've created a new revision or revved up a part or item. And in this case, I've revved up an item and maybe have obsoleted some of these previous items here from my new model, and I no longer need this in the bill of material. So when I go to hit save, CADLink will actually remove these gray highlighted parts or items from my FortShift BOM to make sure that what I have in FortShift is again representative of what I've actually drawn and modeled in my CAD system. But let's say, one of these items were something that my shop floor and manufacturing added in. It's something that they need for their production purposes. So I don't want to actually remove that part, this 4-digit mechanical counter housing cast. I don't want to remove that part, and I can actually convert this gray highlight part to a manual, what CADLink calls a manual part, to make sure that it stays in the Fort Shift bomb. So by converting it to a manual part, you can see that the colored highlighting changes from a gray to a blue. And now when I go to hit save, CADLink will no longer remove this this blue highlighted item, the manual part, from my Fort Shift bill of material. And when I go to relaunch CADLink on the same bill of material, it'll recognize that I've previously set this up as a manual part and keep it as such until as the user revert it back to a gray highlighted item. I can also use the manual part feature to add in parts to my Fort Shift bill material without having to actually model it or include it in my CAD drawings and CAD model. So this is really useful for, for example, consumable items, nuts, bolts, hardware, glue, packaging, manuals, anything that you wouldn't necessarily model in your CAD system or CAD drawings, but you do need Infor Shift for purchasing or manufacturing reasons. So here, let's say, I didn't add any hardware here, and I need to add some nuts and bolts to this this assembly, but I don't want to model it in SOLIDWORKS. So I can simply use the manual part feature to add that in, and actually, I'm going to add it to this subassembly here. And here I can search my entire Fort Shift ERP for the part I like to add. So I can search my entire parts list there for the bolts or nuts that I want to add. So let's look for some bolts. And here I have all of the bolt results from my Fort Shift parts list. I can select the one that I like to use. And let's say I want to use this 3/8 bolt here. And now when I select that, CADLink will auto-populate the rest of the information based on what I have it set up as in Fort Shift. And maybe I need, let's say, 12 of these bolts for this assembly. And now just like that, I have 12 bolts added to my Fort Shift bill of material without actually having to go into SOLIDWORKS or my CAD system to model that. So you can start to see some of these features that really help you streamline this process and save you time when entering these bombs into Fort Shift and throughout your design process. So moving to the right here, we have some more fields that you can see here in the bomb grid. And here we have some ERP specific fields such as, part type, unit of measure, part class, which are usually fields that you are ERP specific. They won't be specified or defined during the engineering and design process in the CAD system, but they are required on the ERP side to actually create the item or add it to a bill of material. So CADLink recognizes that and displays all of those ERP specific fields in the interface here. And I, as the user, have the ability to assign this information for these items, whether they're existing or new items as well. I can assign them either through the interface, I can assign them through default values I can configure in the settings, or if I have that information already available in my CAD system or my CAD drawing or model, I can pull it directly from there. Or if the item already exists in Fort Shift, CADLink will pull it from the Fort Shift record. So here you can see I've populated all of these values based on some defaults I've configured in my settings. So I don't have to fill them out one by one here. But if I wanted to modify any of these values, I can simply navigate to the field here in the interface and select the value that I like to use from the dropdown. And these dropdown menus that you see in CADLink, whether they're in the interface or the side panel, all the dropdown menus are coming directly from your Fort Shift environment, meaning that this is not a separate list that I'm maintaining in CADLink. these are values coming directly from my Fort Shift environment. So if I remove one of these values from my Fort Shift environment, CADLink will recognize that and reflect it here, or if I add a new one in Fort Shift, it will also reflect it here. So this just ensures that my engineers and my CADLink users are using the proper values for these ERP specific fields. So maybe, for example, this should be a length and should be in feet. I can change all of this information directly through the interface here. Scrolling further to the right, we also have some columns for raw material handling as well. So if you manufacture any parts in-house from raw material, CADLink does have a section to handle that, where you can populate the raw material by either pulling it from your CAD model, or you can pull it from Fort Shift if it exists there, or add it through the interface here. So let's say, for example, this new item I'm creating here is actually manufactured in-house here from steel sheets, and I can add that raw material directly through the interface here. So let's look for some steel here, and there's the steel sheet that I would like to use. And again, that search is coming directly from my Fort Shift parts list. And now I have a steel sheet added as a raw material for my manufacturing to know what to manufacture this item out of. So that is the BOM grid. And just a quick note, these fields that you're seeing in the BOM grid here, these are the fields that are included out of the box. If there's additional fields you'd like to add, we can definitely add those in. So that's no problem there. All right, let's talk about the side panel here, because the side panel has some additional information that you can make use of. The most important one is the routings and operations. So CADLink does have the ability to automatically assign or handle routings and operations through the interface. So if I already had a routings and operations set up for some of these items in Fort Shift, then CADLink will display that here. Or for these new items, I can automatically set them up through the interface myself here as well. So if I want to set up some operations and work centers for this subassembly, for example, I can simply add in the operations one by one here. Or if I have a template, I can also populate it from that here as well. So now I have new operations and work centers assigned and defined to the subassembly, and I can further relate those operations to the children through the interface here, like so. And just within a couple of seconds, I've now assigned these operations and routings and work centers to this entire subassembly. So again, really saving us a lot of time, really automating a large portion of this process as well, and streamlining it for the CADLink user and engineers. Next, we have the BOM Changes tab. This is a read-only tab of all of the changes CADLink will be making in my Fort Shift environment when I go to hit the Save button. So I can see some notes of what actions it's going to take for each of these items. I can see some of the quantity and operation and work center discrepancies or comparisons between Fort Shift and my CAD data. And this BOM Changes tab only displays the items and parts that have changes or updates that will happen to them. So if you have a very large bill of material, this is a very nifty way to navigate through that, because if only one part or a couple parts are changing in that very large bill of material, I can simply double click on the item number or part number here in the BOM Changes tab to locate it in the BOM grid. I can also export this BOM Changes tab to an Excel along with the BOM grid. I can also export that to an Excel file or a PDF. Whoops, I did not mean to click that, but so I can export that. So a lot of our customers actually use this export functionality to attach it to an ECN process or just to notify other departments of changes that are happening in Fort Shift that need to be aware. Next, we have the CAD impact tab, which is a read-only tab. This will display my CAD or engineering software item metadata properties. So in my case, since I'm using SOLIDWORKS, it's displaying my configuration and custom properties for SOLIDWORKS for this item here. And again, this is read-only, it's just there so I can easily cross-reference the data without having to go back into SOLIDWORKS to do so. Again, just further streamlining the whole process here. And lastly, we have the Messages tab. This is arguably the most important tab out of all of these tabs here, because CADLink will always validate your data against your FortShift environment's rules and regulations. So if there's any data here that CADLink finds does not follow my FortShift rules, it will actually display a message here. And if I do have any messages in my Messages tab, CADLink will gray out and disable the save button, preventing the user from saving simply because the data is not in a valid format yet. So you can see I have a message available or message in my message tab. It looks like one of my descriptions is empty. I can see the part number there. And if I do have a message, I can double click on it to highlight the part causing that message in the bottom grid. So it looks like it's this 1.1 part here. And my description seems to be empty where my FortShift environment requires a description. I have two options. I can resolve the message by typing a description here and completing the action. You can see as I typed the description, the message was resolved and my save button is re-enabled again. But let's say I didn't know what the accurate description was. I need to talk to purchasing or a different department to get that, but I still wanted to save the rest of my work here and the rest of the data here. I can use the save checkbox column here to pick and choose which parts I want to include in the save. So by excluding that part that's causing the error or message there from the save, I'm actually re-enabling my save button because that I'm skipping over that part in the save. That it's a temporary workaround to the message because it doesn't resolve the fact that we have an empty description, but it does give me that chance to push longer lead time items, for example, into FortShift without having to get all of the data right the first time. So that brings me to the end of the CADLink demonstration. I hope this demonstration gave you a bit more clarity and insight into how this process works and how it can help you automate and streamline your BOM entry process into FortShift and how it can save you a lot of time and ensure that you have accurate data. So the next step from here would be to save into FortShift and back into SOLIDWORKS if I'd like to. But let's jump back into the presentation here. So just to summarize what we went through, we saw that CADLink had a direct link to FortShift. It's pulling item information and parts list directly from FortShift and also saving that information directly to the FortShift ERP as well. We're able to push revision information from our CAD system to the to FortShift as well. And lastly, we're able to update the items and BOMs in FortShift directly from my CAD system. So with all this being said, what are the benefits of CADLink? Number one, the biggest benefit you're going to see is reduction of cost by reducing your non-value added engineering activity, so saving your engineers time so they can actually focus on different projects and other customer work to produce your company revenue. And also reduce costs by limiting double and triple data entries, which may cause inaccurate data and downstream confusion, such as wrong build or late shipment situations. And the other big benefit you're going to see is the improvement to your data accuracy. Again, not only FortShift, but also your CAD systems as well, which can lead to reduction in scrap in your production process, improving your purchasing accuracy, eliminating those wrong build situations, and improving on-time and shipments. So, it's great to hear about the benefits, but what's the actual value proposition? So to give you some numbers on what using CADLink would look like in terms of saving money and time, I'm going to use a scenario to help describe this. So let's say, at my company, I have it takes one engineer 1 hour per day to enter a BOM into Fort Shift. This could be 1 hour across the whole day where I'm constantly updating different items and BOMs throughout the day, which adds up to an hour. Using manual data entry or blind push, but with CADLink that will be reduced down to only a matter of seconds or a couple minutes. And let's say I had 8 engineers at my company, and there's each spending 1 hour every day, so that's roughly 8 hours per day. And with CADLink, you're going to be essentially saving, in this scenario, one body of time in the engineering department. So when we consider that, we're looking at saving 8 hours per day, which is roughly around 2,000 hours per year, and also the prevention of scrap parts and late shipments by using CADLink. We're taking that into consideration as well, and I've just considered we're preventing 1 scrap part per year and 6 late shipments per year by using CADLink due to the increase in data accuracy. And when we consider all of that together, that means we're saving at upwards of 65,000 per year just by using a automated solution like CADLink to integrate those 2 systems. So, time really is money, and having your engineers spend time on these menial tasks such as manual data entry is really eating up a lot of efficiency, revenue, and profit from your company that you may not actually realize. And if you're interested to see how this applies, the ROI and value proposition applies to your situation, I do have an ROI calculator that I can share. So if you are interested in that, reach out to myself or your ICG representative, and we can definitely share that with you. And that will just give you a better idea of what the CADLink ROI will look like for your specific situation. So overall, what does that mean for a business impact as well? So by using CADLink, we're going to have cleaner data in both systems. We're going to spend less time on data entry, which is essentially freeing up our engineering and production resources, which again means higher project throughput and overall better overhead ratio for the business. But this is all great and well and great when I'm saying it, but don't take my word for it. You can go to our visit our website to see what our customers are currently saying about CADLink and our success stories with CADLink as well. You can also check out our Google reviews on Google to see what people are saying there as well. And on our website, you can see some of these the success stories actually have case studies available on them with the little ribbon at the bottom left there. That means if there's a case study available, we've done a study where we've actually measured how much time they've taken to enter their BOMs and create their BOMs in Fort Shift before using CADLink, and then comparing that to after using CADLink and how much time and money they're saving by using CADLink, the CADLink solution. So please visit our website, and if you are interested in speaking with with one of our customers as well, I can definitely help set that up. So that brings me to the end of today's webinar. Thank you all for attending today's webinar. My contact information is shown here on screen, so if you are interested in learning more, feel free to reach out to myself. Again, you can also reach out to your ICG representative, or if you have an Infor representative, you can also reach out to them to learn more about CADLink or our other solutions. So lastly, we have a few more minutes here remaining. I want to quickly go through some of the questions that have been put into the chat here. So just considering the time that we have, we won't be able to go through all of the questions, but I will go through as many as we can today. And I will be reaching out to any leftover remaining questions privately afterwards to help answer those. So one of the questions here is, do you guys work with SOLIDWORKS PDM? Yes, we do work with SOLIDWORKS PDM. If you are looking to work with SOLIDWORKS PDM, we integrate with the professional version of it. Another question here. How do I map the fields between, or how does CADLink know the field mapping between the CAD system and force shift? So good question. That is actually configurable by the user in the CADLink settings. So I, as the user, have the ability to tell CADLink where the item number should be coming from in my CAD system, descriptions, quantities, etc. So that's all configurable in the CADLink settings. Yes, we do work with electrical CAD systems as well, such as AutoCAD, Electrical, Altium, etc. Again, you can go to our website to see a full list of that. We have a wide array of CAD systems, such as woodworking CAD systems, structural CAD systems, mechanical ones, etc. Okay, just looking through some of the last questions here. So another question here is, are we able to auto-populate some of the ERP specific fields for the new items, because engineers may not know all that information? Yes, it is possible. We can have set up some logic. So for example, logic where it automatically assigns a value for a field based on another field such as part number, description, and automatically assign it that way. Or we can have set up a template as well where the CADLink user engineer can select a template to use and apply that, and that template would auto-populate all of the fields that you wanted to target. So it is something we've done before, quite a lot in the past, so it is possible. Okay, we are a bit over time here, so I'm going to wrap up the questions there. If you do have, I will reach out to the remaining questions here that I couldn't answer, and if you do have any other questions, again, feel free to reach out to myself or your ICG representative. But with that, we will wrap things up for today. So thank you all again for attending today's webinar. This recording will be made available online. So if you are interested in getting access to this recording, reach out to your ICG representative and they can provide that to you. Otherwise, it will also be available on the QBuild YouTube channel as well. But thank you all for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye.